first interview since since failing as Prime Minister 45 days. Do you know, if Boris had actually remained in Parliament, technically, he would have been exiled for 90 days. That's twice as much time as Liz Truss was actually Prime Minister. Extraordinary. Let's listen to what she's got to say. She's giving the interview to Dan Wootton on gbNews.
By the Politics Committee today to suspend Boris Johnson for 90 days. That's no way to treat a former Prime Minister, is it, Liz?
Well, let's all remember, we're here in Lee today. And Lee, for the first time in its entire history as a constituency, voted for Boris Johnson in 2019. And I'm a believer in democracy. I know that Boris got a huge mandate, and he got a mandate to get Brexit done and to change Britain. And people voted for him because he was optimistic about our country's future. He had a vision. So in the first place, what I think was wrong was Conservative MPs removing an elected Prime Minister that so many people had voted for.
Absolutely.
And I think that has sown the seeds of huge problems for our party. Now, on the subject of today's ruling, I'm not going to question the integrity of the MPs on that committee. I haven't yet had the opportunity to look at the report.
33,000 words.
Well, the 33,000 words. But fundamentally, the people who should be making decisions about who MPs are the voters. And that's the people we seem to be forgetting. And what I'm here today to talk about in Lee is what people want to see change. What do they want to see change about Britain? What do they want to see happening here in Lee? How are we going to get growth going? How are we going to get businesses going? How are we going to deliver on what we promised back in 2019?
But I mean, Liz, this committee, and look, I understand, I can call it a kangaroo court. You can't, because they will come for you, given this chilling Ministry of Truth style approach.
But I do think it's incredibly important we protect free speech in Britain.
Yeah.
And people have to be able to say what they think. Because we know what happens, and the thin end of a wedge, if people aren't able to express their opinions. And I think that applies to parliamentarians.
Indeed.
As much as it applies
Indeed.
to everybody else in this country.
But Liz...
So I don't support going after MPs who make comments in public.
It's ludicrous. And not only that, they want to ban Boris Johnson, a man who won a landslide about 3.5 years ago, who delivered Brexit.
Doesn't it feel like a lifetime
ago?
I mean, it really does, doesn't it? It feels like a lifetime ago.
A lot has gone down. They want to ban him from the parliamentary estate. I mean, this is gross overreach, is it not?
Well, as I say, I'm not going to question the integrity of these MPs. We do have these committees that have been set up. But it does seem to me a very harsh decision. That's my impression.
Boris Johnson's Foreign Secretary, you remained loyal to him over your time in the cabinet. What do you think his legacy is, and can he still stage a political comeback?
Well, never, ever, ever write Boris off. That is something that I think is very, very clear, and I'm sure we will hear more from him. And he's done a huge amount. I mean, if Boris had not joined the Brexit campaign, would Brexit have won? I very much doubt it. If Boris had not been our leader in 2019, I mean, the people in this audience can answer that. Do you think we would have elected a Conservative MP here in Lee? No, there we are.
So lots of support for Boris.
And that, you know, this is a huge change in our country. And I was so excited back in 2019, where these seats in places like Lee, in Yorkshire, where I'm from, sorry, I'm on the wrong side of the Pennines, and I apologise for that, I should have said that earlier. But, you know, they voted Conservative for the first time because we gave hope and optimism about the future, and we desperately need to get that sense of optimism back.
You're still in touch with Boris. Do you believe he can make a positive impact in the Conservative Party in future?
I do. I do believe he can. And look, I'm not sort of talking about what Boris's plans are. no doubt Boris, now he's got more free time, he'll be on Dan Wootton Live very soon, I would imagine.
He better be.
But I hear it's next week. I hear it's on next week. So you'll have to ask him about his plans.
But you want him in the Conservative Party. The reason I ask that is, of course, there's a lot of rumours about could he potentially form some sort of breakaway populist party with the likes of our friend Nigel Farage. But presumably you want him to stay in the Conservative Party and push forward small C Conservative.
I mean, I've been a Conservative member for 25 years. The first party conference I went to was Blackpool back in 1997. And, in many ways, it wasn't a great year for us as Conservatives. And we've been through tough times and we've been through good times. And we have to stay and we have to fight.
Okay.
Because I think we've got to fight for the conservatism we believe in. So I want Boris to stay and fight for his vision.
On the same day that Rishi Sunak surrendered in the withholding of the honours that Boris Johnson had proposed, on the same day that he did that, the investigation into Boris's lying came out, and he was handed a copy. And so rather than any gesture of gratitude, he went into full ballistic grenade throwing. And I think in doing so, he and Rishi together, Rishi really because he's the fall guy and the fool, Boris because he's vindictive and blustering and doesn't really care what he damages in a torched earth approach to diplomacy. I think together they've probably done more damage to the House of Lords and to our unwritten constitution than anything Keir Starmer could have come up with for the future. The thought that the House of Lords can survive this scrutiny and, the possibility of being invaded by Nadine Dorries is just simply astonishing. The thought that an honour can be given to somebody who has been proven to be a bully. The thought that, that this, particularly Priti Patel, that her record in the Home Office is being carried on by Suella Braverman without any pause. In fact, if anything, Suella Braverman is Priti Patel Mark II. That she is building on the abusive legacy of her predecessor. If you're going to abuse one person, then you're going to abuse many. That's the whole point about bullying. And we need to stop and question, if we have a bully in the office, is anything that she has done worth saving? No. Everything needs to be reviewed. And Braverman, Patel, Dorries, Adams and Rees-Mogg have put the spotlight on the things that aren't working. And although I think the House of Lords has a tremendous reputation for careful analysis, and somebody has to, because it's not going to happen in the Home Office. Although Dorries, for example, had a staggering majority at the last election, 22,000 odd. These things will not be duplicated in the future. These things are now all up for question. And it's this combination of a braggart, a sofa stainer, and a man who is perceived to be weak and who has given in at the wrong point. Now, timing, events, dear boy, and all that sort of stuff, yes. But Johnson's grievance, the support that he commands, threatens to wreck our country. It threatens to wreck our country, to divide the Conservative Party, to divide politics, to leave the next government without a valid and functioning opposition in exactly the same way as this government was left for so much time. That is the tragedy. And we wait to see Liz Truss's list of names. Liz Truss, she cannot bring herself quite to articulate a condemnation of the Privileges Committee, but you know she wants to. She's only thinking of her own skin. And I also think the long shots of her trying gamely to keep her hands under control. Her hands are her thing.